what I love about this guy was, for all intents and purposes, the godfather of the Marine Corps. People can say how he may have been arrogant or pompous or whatever, but I guarantee you he was the last one to eat.
Oh, yeah. He was definitely the last one to eat. And actually, that book's a great book, and there's a big difference between his reputation of what people thought about him that never worked with him. People that worked with him, the Marines that worked with him, that served with him, that he would go around their foxholes at night in negative 25-degree weather and ask guys if they're okay and give him a shot of whiskey. I mean, they loved him because he cared about those. He cared about them. That's the image. As a matter of fact, like, he had this driver that was with him for a long time. Jones was his last name, and Jones, people would come up and say, "How did you stay with Chesty Puller for so long? Didn't he chew you out and demote you?" And he's like, "No, the guy never yelled at me ever." That's the difference. That's the dichotomy between what his image was and what he was really like. The people who he would, the reason he had a reputation for being, super, I guess direct with people was the way he went up the chain of command. When he would tell an admiral out on a ship, like, "You better put those bombs where we need them right now," or, he'd up the chain of command, or he'd come back to America and say, "Hey, the binoculars that you're building suck, and they steam up and we can't see anything. What's wrong with you?" So that's where he got the reputation. But down the chain of command, he was not like that. There's another great story in there that I cover on the podcast where he catches a guy sleeping on watch that are in training, and he wakes the guy up, and he's the battalion commander. He wakes the guy up and says, "Hey, what are you doing sleeping? What if your captain would have caught you? He would have had me come and court-martial you. It'd have been a disaster. You got to stay awake, old man." That's his nickname for everyone, was old man. But that's the difference, is he cared so much about his men, and that's the incredibly hard part that we were talking about earlier, is like when his son comes home from Vietnam.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, his heart is broken. It's broken, and he can't even speak, and he's just convulsing with tears. And it's because, he loved his son, but his son was representative of every Marine, and he said that. He said that. It was like the closing of that book. He tells his wife says, "What do you want to do now that it's all over?" And he's like, "I want to see the face of every Marine I ever served with."
Dude.
You know?
I mean, that right there.